Okay, 3. This is slightly probably Italian specific, so I don't know. This is not going to work in every situation, but in Italy, this is what I would say how normally discipline is done. Okay, so unfortunately, the number one thing that Italian teachers do is they just yell at the students to get control. Normally this works in Italian because students understand Italian, obviously. If you're yelling in English, it's not going to work as well. But you might have to start out that way just to get them to be quiet. Because they have this idea. I mean, it's kind of weird, but I've seen it so many times where, like, the Italian teacher just has to have the loudest voice. They just have to be able to yell louder than any other student. And then they can calm situations down, or they can, like, diffuse a situation. So you might have to start out that way until you get a system that works for you if you don't like yelling at your students. Or at least just have a booming voice. I mean, you don't have to be, and that's the thing, I feel like we don't have the separation of, like, yelling at a student and being angry. Like, sometimes you don't, well, you never have to be angry when you're yelling. If you're just yelling to get control at the beginning, as I say, hopefully after some time goes on, you won't have to be doing this because your students things will be running smoother, and your students will know that you're not okay with them just talking the entire time, and with loud voices as well. Okay, so that you might have to start out that way, and then I would say as much as possible back off for your own sake, because nobody wants to be yelling an entire class just to get control. Another thing that Italians do a lot is just move students around. So if a student's being a problem, they'll say, all right, let's sit, stand up and swap with this other student, move them over there. This is probably the most effective thing if you've got problems. I do this even just to do it. I mean, I seat students where I want them to be seated, just so that partly because I want them to be in different pairs. If I want them to have different partners, I don't want them to always sit by the same person. I don't want them to always be talking to the same person, etc. But I mean, it does give the students the idea that they don't just get to do whatever they want to do, and that, again, it's just another way to establish your authority. But anyways, if there are problems and you've got, like, it's amazing if you separate one or two, you find out really fast, oh, this kid is not actually the problem here. He was just sitting by the other, like the wrong kid for him. Because kids act completely differently when they're with different students. So that might just be a way to find out where your problems lie in class and which students, like your personalities, really. I mean, because that's a lot of teaching is just learning the different personalities that you have to deal with, and who's going to be what way, who's going to be your eager student who wants to answer everything, and who's going to be the student that drives you crazy and just is asking you a billion questions, and who's going to be the problem kid that never does anything. So, anyways, moving students. In Italy, they often send students into the hall if they just want to calm them down. If somebody's out of control, or they're being so much of a distraction that you just can't get anything done, teachers will just put them out in the hallway. This, effective-ish, but usually teachers, I think, will go out and have a word with them as well. And if you're Italian or whatever language the second language is in your country, if it's not really great, it's kind of hard, it might be hard to have a chat with them. And if you have a chat with them in English, a lot of times they won't understand. So, anyways, that can be good if you're wanting to calm the situation down or just remove a distraction. But it doesn't usually change behavior. It doesn't, long term, I'm not sure that, you certainly don't want to be doing it every class, because it is slightly serious, but it also, I would say a lot of times is not very effective. Long term, it doesn't usually make students change their behavior. Okay, another thing, they often do this, and this is very serious. If you make a note about a student in front of the students, they will instantly get all worried. They'll want to know what you've written down, because, well, this is Italian specific, because notes are really a bad thing, because I assume it means that it's going on their report card, or that parents are going to be called. So anyways, if you make a note that's really serious, which again, you don't want to be doing this every class, which is kind of a problem in the beginning, because while you're trying to establish stuff, it might be a bit, every class I'm sending this kid out, every class I'm moving these kids around. But as I say, hard work up front and then fun stuff later, basically. Also, I would say, don't make threats. Sometimes I, with my really little kids, like 3 to 5 years old, I'll have them make a choice. I'll say, you can either be quiet or you can come sit over here, or something like that. And so sometimes I give them choices. But I would say don't make threats, especially if you can't follow through on them. Like if you're just saying generally, like if you do that one more time, ... and you don't really have anything any sort of real consequence for them, what's the point? They're just gonna think, well, then I'll just keep doing it. So I would say if there's an issue, you just need to deal with it. You don't need to threaten somebody that you're going to do something. Either, do it or give them a choice. And then if they change their behavior, great. If they don't, then follow through with it. But don't just make empty threats. And then, because then people, basically what will happen then is all your students will know, well, we can do whatever we want because she's just going to say, if you do this, I'm going to do this. And then nothing's going to come of it. So just deal with things when they come up and don't put stuff off. All right, miscellaneous section. Don't hold grudges. This is harder to do with older kids than it is with younger kids, because younger kids forget that they got in trouble 2 minutes ago. So it's really easy not to hold grudges with smaller kids. Harder with middle schoolers and teenagers, because they think that you don't like them or something. If you have to get onto them or move them around, they think, oh, they don't like me, and they think it's a personal issue. But I would say, as much as possible, try not to make it personal, and not like oh, I hate this kid, I just can't stand to be around him, I wish you were absent all the time, etc. So try not to hold grudges. Every day is a new day. Every day is an opportunity for a student to, become a better student. Maybe they'll be great today. And that it's slightly optimistic, and a lot of teachers will be like, yeah, right. You're bad kids, you're good kids, and there's not going to be much change. But I would say if you decide that early on, you're not giving students much chance to change. And they are still young. Kids are growing up. So, what you do in a class can, maybe change who a person is. So, don't hold grudges. I would say, as much as possible, don't get angry. If you're working full-time teaching, it's impossible not to get angry in any job. But as much as possible, try not to get angry. You can yell without getting angry. You can move students around. You can discipline without getting angry. As soon as you get angry, you lose a little bit of control. And when you're working with kids, you want to be careful about losing control, because especially with little kids, it's really easy to when you're moving a child, especially with little kids, because little kids they might do this and not want to do whatever you want them to do, and you might actually have to. It's really easy with little kids to just move them physically, and sometimes you have to do that. But if you're angry, it's very easy to just grab them by the arm and dislocate a shoulder or something like that. So you want to be really careful about how angry you are. If something's happened and you've just gotten really irritated, or you're just having a bad day, it's a job. It's like any other job. You're going to have bad days. So try not to get angry. Also, and this is just a really good tip, learn your names as fast as possible, because you won't have any control over your class until you learn your names. And if you want to deal with the situation, if you've got some sort of problem, you need to know who you're talking to, because you can't just say, hey, boy, stop doing that. You need to know the names, which for some people is really easy. For other people, it's really difficult, the name thing. So just work on that a lot up front. Okay, I hope that's helpful for all you newbie teachers and gives you some things to think about before you have to jump into an enormous class where they don't understand you. Good luck. Bye.